Hello, in this session I want to explain about the stretch and the scale commands. First, stretch command. Stretches objects crossed by a selection window or polygon. Objects that are partially enclosed by a crossing window are stretched. Objects that are completely enclosed within the crossing window or that are selected individually are moved rather than stretched. Some types of objects such as circle, ellipses, and blocks can't be stretched. First, you should select objects. Specify the portion of the object that you want to stretch. Use the C polygon options or the crossing object selection method. Press enter when the selection is complete. Stretch moves only the vertices and endpoints that lie inside the crossing section, leaving those outside unchanged. The stretch doesn't modify 3D solids, polyline, void, tangent, or curve fitting information. Specify the base point from which the offset for the stretch is calculated. This base point can be outside the area being stretched. This is for base. You can select or you can type direction or displacement or the second point. Second point specifies the second point that defines the distance and direction of the stretch. The distance and direction of this point from the base point defines how far the end in what direction the selected portions of the object will be stretched. Use first point as displacement. It specifies that the stretch distance and direction will be based on the distance and direction of the base point you specify from the 0, 0, 0 coordinates in the drawing. To set a displacement based on the relative distance from the current location, enter distances in X, Y, Z format. For example, enter 1 million 0, 0. To stretch the selection to a point that is 1 million units along the x-axis and 0 units along the y-axis from the original points. Now for the scale command. Enlarges and reduces selected objects, keeping the proportions of the object the same after scaling. To scale an object, specify a base point and a scale factor. The base point acts as the center of the scaling operation and remains stationary. A scale factor greater than 1 enlarges the object. A scale factor between 0 and 1 shrinks the object. First, you should select the object. For example, you should specify which object you want to resize and press enter. Specify a base point for the scale operation. The base point you specify identifies the points that remains in the same location as the selected object change size. Which one? When you use the scale command with annotative objects, the positions or location of the object is scaled relative to a base point of the scale operation, but the size of the object isn't changed. And you can press copy and reference creates a copy of the selected objects. For scaling reference, scales the selected objects based on a reference length and a specified new length. I choose copy to for the scale factor. Or another one. .5 with reference and copy. In the next session, I want to continue explaining about another modify comments. Hello, in this session I want to explain about mirror and explode comments. First, mirror comments. Creates a mirrored copy of selected objects. You can create objects that represent half of a drawing. Select them and mirror them across a specified line to create the other half. By default, when you mirror a text object, the direction of the text is not changed. Set the mirror text system variable to 1 if you do want the text to be reversed. First, you should select objects. Use an object selection method to select the objects to be mirrored. For example, now press Enter to finish. Specify first point, second point of mirror line. The two specified points become the endpoints of a line about which the selected objects are mirrored. For mirroring in 3D, this line defines a mirroring plane perpendicular to the XY plane of the user coordinate system containing the mirror line. Erase source object, yes, no. Determines whether the original objects are erased or retained after mirroring them. Another one. Now I want to explain explode comment. First, I want to draw rectangle and polygon. Explode. Breaks a component objects into its component objects. Explode the component objects when you want to modify its components separately. Objects that can be exploded include blocks, polylines, and regions, among others. The color, line type, line weight of any explode objects might change. Other results differ depending on the type of component objects you are exploding. To explode objects and change their properties at the same time, use XPLODE. Now explode. This is one object. I'll select explode, select object. And for changing the properties at the same time, use explode. This command. And 2D polylines discards any associated voids and tangent information. For void polylines, the results lines and arcs are placed along the center of the polylines. In the next session, I want to explain about arrays and offset comments.